Hey there, Edgar community. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm really excited to be talking a little bit about best practices when it comes to remote work. And we are really lucky to be joined today from a CEO over at Lorem, who's going to chat a little bit about a really exciting opportunity they're offering to remote workers these days. So I'm going to pass it over to Charlie to start and introduce what his company does, and then we'll jump into some best practices when it comes to remote work life. So Charlie, go ahead and say hello to the Edgar community today.
Thanks, Megan. Hey everyone, how's it going? A little bit about myself and about Lorem. We started the company about 1.5 years ago, and it's basically a modern freelance marketplace that matches a curated community of web developers, designers, digital creatives with our clients who are typically modern business owners who are all around the world, about 80% in North America and then 20% scattered all throughout the world. We came out of Techstars in Boston, and we're based in Dumbo now. That's basically the quick overview of Lorem. It's awesome for our freelance community. Basically, we deliver great work that matches their skills and their interests to them wherever they might be in the world. And so they're working, one of our freelancers lives in Vienna, and we literally deliver her projects to do that she cares about. And then she gets to work with our project manager on staff, and we simplify the whole process. And so instead of going around and doing tons of project proposals and all that nightmarish stuff to find and get clients, work with them, and then follow up with payment, Lorem simplifies all of that stuff and makes it incredibly easy for our experts around the world.
Oh, so cool. Yeah, having this sort of setting going on when it comes to freelance work and having that clear communication is so important. That's so cool that you've even tackled that when it comes to people working in Vienna with you guys. When it comes to like communication styles and everything, we find here at Edgar, a lot of our best practices are revolving around having like a company wiki where we're all able to update it and be on this really transparent setting and know what projects are going on. Every project usually has its dedicated Slack channel where we're all able to see and contribute to it and stuff like that. But for freelance workers, I imagine it's even a little bit more difficult. What do you find are some of the best practices when it comes to communicating your needs and really making sure all of the stakeholders' voices are heard when it comes to creating projects?
Yeah, it's a great question. The number one thing that we hear from our experts and that my partner and I experienced in the past is when we were doing freelance with customers remotely or just remote work is it's all about mastering communication. So there's tools like a company knowledge base or leveraging Slack, but some of even the more fundamentals around if you think you've communicated with the client or with your team, go 120%. And so typically what that means for us is, start with the process and then get to the plan and then get to updates. And always frame things in terms of the overall process. So all of the micro communications that take place when you're in the room, you need to go above and beyond, basically to make sure that everybody's staying aligned and on the same page through just wonderful communication. So that changes from team to team. And so for our experts, so much of that happens through the Lorem platform. So we're trying to build this wonderful collaboration tool that helps them do that great remote communication. Slack is wonderful. And then we've actually just started with a tool called Slight, which is basically like Slack for notes. So it's team shared notes. That's also been fantastic. It's really just about over communicating a tremendous amount. Kind of two other tips that I've heard from our community that are a little bit intuitive, but have really paid dividends and really pays off is when you're working remote, and especially if you're working freelance, keep a schedule. It is so easy to allow work to eat up your entire day. You kind of, as an entrepreneur, you want to basically keep a schedule and let that schedule be transparent with those that you're working with. It's a great way to manage time zones. And if you have a transparent schedule that works for you, it basically removes all of the potential miscommunications that come from basically people writing you when you're offline or not knowing when to depend on you for being online, things like that. And then last, I would really say in 2018, it has never been a better time to be a remote worker and to do freelance for clients around the world. And what has come with it is just an amazing number of online communities. And so if you work solo or with a small team, lean into those online communities that exist. So we're part of, there's Slack groups. So one's called front-end developers, one's called online geniuses. We're in the Shopify partners. And basically, some call them genius networks or something like that, but you're really just leaning on a digital community of like-minded people. So whether that is sharing tips, sharing work, sharing clients, it's all there, and it can really combat kind of the solo aspect of being a remote worker.
Oh my gosh, I love all of those tips you just dropped there. It's so true. Being a remote worker, you have so many unique challenges you have to deal with. You have to be highly self-motivated. You have to be really great at managing your time and setting those boundaries like you touched upon. You have to be able to cope with all these distractions. And perhaps most importantly, like you said, have these systems for communication set in place. One of the things that we have in our work from home survival kit here at Edgar is this idea of boundaries, having these things at the end of your day that are able to be like, if you're getting up and walking the dog around the block, that signals the end of your workday. So you're not always thinking you have to be online, or setting up those Slack notifications to be snoozed during your off hours is so important to make sure you don't get into that tumble of always working. And one of the things that we always like to touch on too when it comes to communication is making sure that you always have these face-to-face calls, because like Charlie was mentioning, these little sort of intuitive things you have when it comes to face-to-face tone and communication are oftentimes lost when you're just using project management systems like Slack or Asana. So we always have making sure that our set work hours overlap, even though we have people in the East Coast and West Coast, so that we can all have team meetings where we're seeing each other face to face and learning each other's personalities and our work styles. And if you're out there working to grow a remote team right now, I would suggest maybe extending your hiring process to make sure your communication styles really do fit. Have your written word communication writing samples from everyone on your team. Make sure that they're meeting with multiple people from all departments within your company to match those up, because it is so true. When it comes to remote work, communication is key to make sure the project gets done right.
One other thing I'd love to add, and it just dawned on me, it actually came from a founder from a mutual investor. And essentially that was, when you have a remote team, do things remotely, like a Google Hangout or with the 8 remote people, that's not actually work or meeting related. So literally do like a remote happy hour where you just hang out, you have a beer, have a coffee, and talk about life as you would in the office, but you make sure that it's done face-to-face over Hangout. That way it doesn't become so much meeting oriented, and you get some of that casual interaction time. And that's been really successful for some of the startups we've worked with.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many studies out there showing that when you do those personal connections with people in that casual work time, it works so much better in your actual work. And so at Edgar, we actually have really fun Slack channels to help with this. We have a bot that automates like a question of the day for us all to get to know each other. And we have fun channels like a spoiler alert ones to talk about television shows, or a what's for lunch channel where we're able to share lunches, which makes me kind of jealous sometimes, not being a great cook myself. So setting these systems up and having that more not always work oriented is a really cool idea. And I love that virtual happy hour tidbit that you did share there. Yeah. So going a little bit more into this idea of setting up systems for your communication, when you're having these projects, how do you guys actually make sure that the deadlines are met by each independent person working on there? So if you have someone over in Vienna who's holding up the project for someone else, do you use anything besides Slack? And I believe you said one other for notes to really help make sure that's a streamlined process? Yeah,
this is such a not helpful answer, but we've actually built an internal admin tool. We call it Lorem HQ, and it goes above and beyond, basically to help us manage all the different projects and the folks that we work with internally. So maybe one day we'll roll that out and make it public. But it's been great. And I think that the other thing to add is a lot of the functionality and features in these around like deadline reminders and deadline setting. It actually can go to, if everybody on the team is skilled in what they're doing and over communicates in the beginning, you kind of can get past some of those needs to have, cold deadline reminders just by having a regular cadence of communication. So we fall back on the style of work as much as we do like features to enhance.
That makes so much sense. We have a very similar philosophy with deadlines when it comes to that. We set up these deadlines in Asana and we make sure that we're communicating along the way. But if they have to be pushed back, it's communicated to everyone and we can all jump in and put our feedback in there. So I love that idea for sure. Cool. So beyond just finding remote workers and making sure that you're connecting them with the right designers for their project, do you find that the interview process for these is any different than you're doing in like an in-person interview at all?
Yeah, you mean when we're bringing on new Lorem experts to work with us?
Right, exactly.
So they do go through, we have a pretty high bar that our experts need to get through. I think right now we accept about 7% of all the people that apply.
Wow.
And but in a lot of ways we think of them as part of our team and we work quite closely with them and they're going to work quite closely with our clients. And so the interview questions, kind of the first round, is all about, can you do the work? Are you technical enough? So it's understanding kind of some of those kind of skill-based requirements. But then, just as it would be for somebody who's joining full-time or joining somebody's team in person, it's more of the soft skills. So customer service, likability, communication skills. And so it's probably an abbreviated version of a full-time in-office or full-time hire. But certainly you're trying to get at the same team, which is same thing, which is, do we want to work with this person on our team? And for all of our clients, the Lorem experts are thought of as part of their team. And so we're kind of doing that interview on behalf of our clients in many ways. So.
Very cool. Yeah, I love this lens that you can filter it through, thinking everyone has to be good at customer support. Because when it comes down to it, if everyone has the customer in mind and the customer's outcome in mind, that is going to create such a stronger product. So I love that as a pro tip when you are hiring. Make sure that people are curious about the customer over everything to really get that strong identity, not only with the product you're creating, but always remembering the end user, because that's what it's all about at the end. I love that idea a lot.
Absolutely.
Cool. So before we kind of jump in and talk a little bit about this fun contest you guys are running, are there anything other kind of best practices you wanted to touch on that you guys have learned being a remote team yourself?
I think we really touched on the big stuff already. I think it really just goes back to communication, and ultimately, if it's going to be remote, you also want to make sure that you're asking the right questions to make sure the people that you bring on remote are going to be happy. So much of some people's happiness day to day is with in-person collaboration, but some people are kind of like tuned to be wonderful working remotely. And so you also want to get at those underlying things too. But yeah, other than what we chatted about today, I think that's the big stuff.
Gosh, I think that is actually something that's really lost in companies, this idea that if you're taking care of the people and they're happy working remotely and you're offering them everything they need, they're going to care about the product and they're going to care about the company that much more too. So that's so important, just to make sure it is a good match and that the company cares about making sure that you are excelling in your job. That's a really good point there. Cool. So the fun of this will now begin. I believe you guys are running a really fun contest with Remote Year. Can you talk a little bit about that really fun adventure that you guys are going to pick people to send on?
Absolutely. So Remote Year is an awesome company, and they've basically been sending people on these 12-month excursions around the world, working in different cities every month. It is super cool. I want to go on one myself. And essentially what we have done is created a competition with them where a select group of Lorem experts, who are these digital designers, developers, digital creatives, can go on a Remote Year, kind of get VIP Lorem service and not have to worry about where's the next project going to come from. And so while Remote Year is handling the logistics, the travel, the Wi-Fi, and all of that good stuff, Lorem is really the work component. And so we can send a wonderful stream of project opportunities to the winners of this competition and let them work quite closely with one of our project managers on staff to really make it as easy and simple as possible to kind of have this incredible life experience and live this wonderful lifestyle for a year. One of the big hurdles that people think about and need to get over is making sure that they're going to have the ability, the opportunities to work remotely throughout the entire year. And so, Lorem is in many ways built for that. And a lot of our experts today, that is the way that it already works. And so some of our experts already travel all the way around the world themselves. And the point is that this will give the opportunity to anybody who wants to do it, or a select group that win the competition, the ability to make the earnings and the revenue and not worry about the next paycheck or the work, which is Lorem, and then have the incredible remote lifestyle, which is MeetEdgar.
Man, I am with you. I'm a little bit jealous. This sounds like
we've been getting applications for this nonstop for when we put it out there. But basically the competition ends in early December. I think it's December 3rd. And so if there's anybody in the community that wants to get in and apply, you have just a couple more days to do so. But yeah, we will announce the winner shortly. And it should be, sadly, I won't be among the winners, but
maybe next year.
Yeah,
guys, as Charlie said, if you guys are interested, definitely let us know. I'll put the link to where you guys can enter in the comments below once this is done. But if you want that laptop lifestyle for a year and to be able to travel and still really support yourself and use your talents, reach out to us if you do have any questions. I'll put Charlie's contact information, like I said, in the link in the comments below, and let us know if you do have any questions. We also have some really great, like I said, survival for your homework blog posts on the Edgar blog. That'll be in the comments below too. So check those out if you are a remote worker looking to up level your workspace. So Charlie, thank you so much for coming on today. I know we do have a lot of freelancers in our community, and I hope that they will take advantage of this really cool opportunity you guys are offering.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Bye, guys. See you next time.